Well, as far as the content of what I'm writing is, it's not that dissimilar. Like when I'm writing for myself, I'm still writing about monsters and creepy doodads and girls going on adventures. That's just the kind of stuff I'm into. But it's a very different thing when I'm writing for myself, and I can get a little flowery with the prose. I can skip over dialogue of like, I don't know what they would say right now. Placeholder. Okay, man, go on. Versus when I'm writing for not necessarily the company, but for my crew, because I want to be very clear and concise with my direction. I want to be able to project the image of what I'm seeing into someone else's head so that the pipeline doesn't get stuck because I was not a very good communicator. So the difference is like, I guess simply put, when I write for myself, I can get weird. I can get really long and nerdy with the descriptions. But when I write for others, it has to be a little more clear cut, very well thought out. No placeholder dialogue. It just has to be exactly as it needs to be. Yeah. Of course.
Hi, I'm Hope from the Geeky Waffle. Our generation grew up in a time where, like, Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus was cousins, and, like, Toya and Yukito were, like, completely taken out of card captors, at least that romance. So how is it being, and not just Owl House, but, like, Steven Universe and Kipo and the Wonder Beast and She-Ra, what's it like to be part of this generation that is bringing queer content and animation for the next generation when we didn't have that growing up, because it was heavily censored for us?
It makes me very jealous.
Right?
Yeah, because like I'm someone who didn't come out until my mid to late 20s, and as a kid, I can't imagine how much better I would feel about myself if there was something on like Steven Universe or Kipo, or if I was watching Sailor Moon and they weren't cousins. Because I remember seeing that and being like, oh,
yep.
What? I don't. It's so confusing. I am jealous right now. I know there's still more we can do. There still needs to be more shows with good queer rep. It needs to keep getting made so that kids can still feel seen and heard, and feel like they have the right to exist and be who they are. It'll be an ongoing struggle, but a very worthwhile one. And I'm honored to be a part of the movement. I hope to continue to be part of the movement. I will, as long as I can. But for the most part, I do just feel jealous.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, so many. I'm actually glad you asked that, because so many people do focus on the negatives and like how horrible was it? Like, what's the worst S&P question you ever got? But Disney did provide us with the budget to hire like some of the best artists I've ever worked with in my entire career. The most amazing draftsmen, the most amazing like art directors, Andy Gardner-Flexner, Ricky Cometa, who are the two art directors throughout the series. We had a writer's room full of extremely talented people. At any other studio, we would have been able to meet those artists or pay them the salary they deserved, but Disney did allow that. And we did have a couple executives who were very much champions of good animation and good representation, who would fight for us when we needed help fighting. Hence, they did give us passes to go to Disneyland for free. that was nice for a lot of people. For Gravity Falls, I only came in on season 2, and by that point, Alex had already known that season 2 was going to be the last season. He knew how it was going to end. Everything was like being written out as I was being onboarded. So he already knew like the big climactic ending with Stan like taking out Bill. I had the honor of animating that moment. It was so cool. And for DuckTales, whew, Matt Youngberg and Frank Ingones, the two showrunners, they had every single little thing planned out since the very beginning. Frank is a meticulous writer, very impressive to watch him work. Matt Youngberg, at like an extremely focused showrunner who let me like shadow him as I was like starting to showrun and develop Owl House. I I thank him for a lot of things. It was incredible to see them work, especially because day one, I walked in, I was about to, because I directed the first episode, and they just told me the entire plan for the entire series, like down to the finale. And I was like, oh, wow. This is going to be your life for the next 5 years. So I think Alex had an idea of what he was going to do, and he like executed it in a beautiful, fantastic way. Frank probably could have written the finale draft that day, and it would be like 1-to-1 to what the final product was. It was very impressive watching all of those showrunners work as I was like learning how to do the same thing. No. I actually never wanted to work for Disney. Truthfully, the only things I ever watched from Disney were the princess movies, because, you know, you go over to someone's house, you're being watched by a babysitter, they'll put on a princess movie. And I never felt like a princess. I never connected with those kinds of stories. I knew that I wanted to be an animator, but I was thinking more like Powerpuff Girls. My life as a teenager, I was like, those are the kinds of shows that I get. Yeah, it's a good show. But Disney, I was like, I don't want to work for Disney. It would be nice to learn how to do what they do, you know, with the animation paper and sitting at the desk for hours. That honestly looked like a lot of fun. But I never thought that I would make my first big project there. I am honored that I got to work there for 10 years and learn a lot from a lot of incredible showrunners and artists. And it is cool that I got to make Owl House specifically. This specific, like, dark, kind of queer story at Disney is a huge honor and kind of a fun thing for my inner child to realize. But I never thought I'd spend 10 years there, that's for sure. All of my passions, everything I've ever been interested in has always lended itself to long form storytelling, like comics, like animation. If I didn't get into animation, it would have been comics, or it would have been like doing illustration series of line up like a D&D campaign I made up. Like, I can't imagine any other kind of career I could have taken without being incredibly depressed. I adore art history. I love working with others on projects. I love spending my time thinking of stories and characters and how those characters can hate each other and then maybe learn to like each other, or the other way around. That stuff, like, I carry around. I have 3 notebooks and a sketchbook in my bag right now, because whenever I have a minute, I'm just like, oh, that's a cool idea. Oh, yeah, that's not a cool idea. So when I started learning more and more about animation as a job, it's like, oh, I can actually do this all the time and make a living. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to spend all my time figuring out how to do, is how to get this job. So luckily it lended itself like this.
What is an underrated part of Owl House, whether behind the scenes or a specific episode, that just doesn't get talked about enough that you just want to gush about?
I love King, and I love King's arc, going from I want to be feared, I want people to tremble before me. I'm unfortunately a little fella, but I feel so much bigger. until he finds out he is, you know, basically a son of what a lot of people consider to be a god. He is literally going to eventually be the size of an island. He is going to grow into the terrifying thing he always wanted to be, and then he realizes that's actually not what I wanted. He actually just wants to be surrounded by a family, by loved ones, but he didn't know how to express that until he got what he wanted, so to speak. I don't think it's so underappreciated, but I do wish I saw people talk about it a little more, just because it's one of my favorite arcs in the show. And I take a lot of pride in how it eventually got executed, and how Alex voice acted all the scenes with him. Just created a very beautiful moments with the king.
Thank you so much.